Alrighty. The Nightfall Purgus is finally here, and we've gotten 2.5 IDs alongside an ego. The fixes of the Dawn in full are now in tow, and have received one hell of an upscale compared to their Ruiner counterparts. You cannot be telling me that Yuna and Salvador were doing all of that in Ruiner. These fellas are fuss on one hell of a different level. Anyhow, welcome to the burn agenda. We cannot get burn staples that aren't shoved into wallpepe, and the trend will just keep going. Yuna Faust and Salvador Gregor are strong enough to be bloody core, not to mention their ability to bring Philip up to far more modern standards. If there was any ID that didn't need such a sheer upscale, it was Philclair, and now he has 4 entire blocks of text further supporting his capabilities. Heck, he even gets to cheat an extra skill free, but I digress. We'll get into all of that as we go along. Aside from the fix of the Dawn, we also got Solemn Lament's absurd alteration that functionally shakes up Sinking's entire game plan, is what I would say if it wasn't on a Yi Sang already. That said, Solemn Lament Yi Sang stonks are up quite a bit to boot. We'll be getting to him first actually, since the other two are going to need quite a bit more to cover at length. I suppose with the new Shadow-Vested Blade Singer the other week, and this new Funeral of Dead Butterflies ego, I ought to standardize how to cover egos on this channel. We'll go in the order that affects proc, in which case. Simply by equipping this new ego on Solemn Lament Yi Sang himself, he counts as a tremor unit as well as a sinking unit, at least gets classified as such. His base skills also now inflict a piddly amount of 2 tremor on hit, once per skill, and counters skills that inflict both tremor and sinking. This is akin to Shadow-Vested Blade Singer, converting Kim Salt into a bleed and poise unit. This is mostly important for mirror dungeons, but at times has some other running ramifications for passives and supports. One example being Ufi Heathcliff's support passive, offering a clash power up to skills that apply tremor count or potency. I wouldn't call that a good passive though. There are many others that can play into this, but nothing quite as direct. For example, if we needed Yi Sang to be able to inflict more tremor, and some tremor bursts as well, we could be utilizing Faint Aromashu's support passive, Bring Genesis. For a free Resin of Sloth, suddenly he can also burst tremor while applying it. Problem being, we would want to field her instead. Our options for any kind of dual status sinking and tremor are pretty funny now thanks to this ID. The others being Ujat Otis, Hanafuda Ishmael, Faint Aromashu, and now, well, Solemn Lament Yi Sang. It's honestly surprising that we still don't yet have a sinking tremor amplitude conversion, but for many reasons that would be broken as shit, with Butterfly existing alongside other nukes available in both tremor and sinking itself. Anyhow, back to the subject of the video, let's hit up that awakening. 1 Sloth, 4 Gloom, and 2 Pride resources, we can awaken this ego for a 5 coiner that offers the following. It's an unfocused volley that inflicts Butterfly with its skill effects. Butterfly infliction is always between Living and Departed. Living stacks help with SP management, whereas Departed stacks offer sinking damage conversion in the form of Gloom, based on sinking potency and departed stacks. This ego weighs the type of stack it applies based on the chance to flip heads. Note that by default, chance to flip heads is 50 plus SP. This means this will always be flipping with a maximum of 75% without any buffs or debuffs to affect flip rate. Those are exceedingly rare and usually come in the form of panic-related effects or specific passives such as Ujat Otis's one. Anyhow, this rolls independent of the actual coins and inflicts Departed if the chance is met, or otherwise will inflict the Living instead. This is important as it means when aiming to cash out sinking, we want Yi Sang to be as high SP a level as possible to get those Departed Butterfly stacks going in order to deal more damage. Now, if on the lower end of SP, using this ego instead inflicts quite a lot of the Living. Now initially you may see this as a benefit, as the Living offers SP healing to everyone else. However, it can also be a bit maddening, as it converts into the Departed the turn after. The Departed also just disappears the turn after too, making the planning for using this a bit troublesome at times. If you need SP for everyone else, you ought to be having Yi Sang go first, for everyone to hit butterflies after. Thankfully, Solemn Lament Yi Sang has a source of haste to keep this going. Same does go with the Departed. If you want to cash damage on the same turn, you gotta make sure that Departed stacks are landing as well as cashing them out on the turn of. Of course, because it's all chance-based, we don't really have the most consistent way of applying it all, so your mileage is definitely going to vary regardless. The above mention is just a general guide to let you know how to best apply these. Anyhow, the rest of the effects here are pretty straightforward. It gets clashing power for sinking and butterfly on main targets. So compared to Gregor's Solemn Lament, this clash is better. And in addition, if Solemn Lament Yi Sang is the one making use of this, we gain his bullets, living and departed at random according to Gloom Resonance before attack, and we reload at attack end. The coins themselves are all unbreakables, and don't have any issues on being cracked aside from the usual coin power loss. The first offers butterfly and sinking, the second and third offer 2 butterfly instead. Meanwhile, the fourth coin offers sinking count and free butterfly, but with gloom fragility and gloom resist down for this turn and the next. A rather important set of debuffs, especially the latter one, as that increases the damage offered by butterfly itself in gloom damage. The last coin, though, burns all of Solemn Lament Yi Sang's ammo before inflicting sinking, tremor, living, departed, triggering a tremor burst, dealing gloom damage equal to sum of both butterfly stacks on target, and dealing a gloom damage echo equal to living and departed ammunition expended by this coin by 2% per ammunition on the final coin. At 20 ammunition, that is a 40% damage echo. At 30 ammunition, that is a 60% damage echo. This may seem quite overloaded for an awakening, and yes, it bloody is. It deserves to be, because that is a metric fuck ton of status application and potential damage. Being able to activate sinking 5 times, or butterfly sinking 5 times, is quite a lot. Getting a damage echo on the final coin is quite a lot. Not to mention that this will now activate the actual ego passive, and a unique ego passive for Solemn Lament Yi Sang himself. The ego passive is a mouthful and doesn't have any spaces in it. The wilt-winged butterfly feeds upon the pauper dew in misted breath. By default, it offers clash power on targets with butterfly. Then on targets with 15 plus sinking and both butterfly, we inflict 1 butterfly. Essentially, we get to apply butterfly for free just for using this thing, as long as we can maintain either butterfly stacks or sinking stacks, else both at once. This means that while Yi Sang is essential to a sinking composition, we don't strictly have to use Solemn Lament Yi Sang as long as we take this specific ego with us. We can now access butterfly sinking on any Yi Sang ID as long as we can keep status uptime. Yes, this means we can get Rian applying butterfly as well. It just won't be anywhere near as high a degree, but it will certainly be quite useful to at least have something. As for the exclusive part of the passive, the Solemn Lament Yi Sang, this one is purely an upscale to the guy and a rather huge one to boot. For one, his ammo caps are increased by 10, allowing him to apply living and departed to their maximums at the same time. In addition, upon reloading, he heals 10 SP to offset some of his SP loss from reloading to begin with. On top of that, after reload, he discards base skills of the lowest rank except for his skill 3. That all meaning he gets to just dump and dump again more consistently. Reminder that the skill 3 always reloads at attack end, meaning he would be getting bullets back after fully dumping them and would be able to loop this much faster thanks to the discard functionality. Furthermore, because we're not done yet, at turn end with a slotted defense skill, he'll heal 10 SP. This is in addition to the defense skill itself forcing a reload. And finally, when staggered, he gets to cheat his way out of it at turn end, before getting a free reload. Essentially, we offset most of this fella's major weaknesses all in one go, while buffing his consistency and allowing him to mag dump quite a bit more often and effectively. The SP cost of reloading is initially one of the issues this man runs into, if only because of the constant reloading from abusing the S3 and not getting enough bullets back in post. If we extend things even further, activating his passive allows him to reload on kill and gain 2 haste on reload. Yeah, his consistency really did rise like mad. Anyhow, before we get to the corrosion, I'll give you a quick rundown on how to use him. He is one of Sinking's goats that has only gotten better with this new stuff. Unfortunately, he is largely neutral to negative in sinking, and mostly gains his stripes in giving sinking that damage payout through butterfly as mentioned with the departed. All of his skills need to clash in order to not drop the sinking stack as aggressively. Clash wins offer neutral, -1, and -1 respectively, whereas without clashing, we'd be -2, -2, and -4 on his skills. Thankfully, all of his skills can gain clash or base power alongside coin power in order to increase his consistency in this regard. Beyond there, his bullets are what determine the type of butterfly he inflicts. If a living bullet is used, a living stack is applied. If a departed bullet is used, a departed stack is applied. Skill 1 burns 2 bullets, Skill 2 burns 7 bullets, and Skill 3 burns all of them. Skill 1 we want to use as little as often due to it being a tad underwhelming in any application. Skill 2 offers some rather interesting bonuses on the other hand. It's a resonance skill with gloom. He can restock bullets without losing SP, as long as we don't get a 4A resin, getting 1 bullet for each highest resin up to 6 after use. If the resin was an A resin, we can get up to 12 bullets instead, but at a 4+ A resin, we reload. Bit funky. Shed reload in this case isn't too bad with the new ego, however, since we can force a reload. If enough resonance can be achieved on the field, we can effectively remove all skill 1s from existence with a bit of luck. If there's a skill 1 in the other slots and we get a 4A resin to reload, we can reload and discard that skill 1. With 2 skill 2s, we can do this twice as long as it lines up with the skill 1s, and if the skill 3 lines up with another skill 1, we can of course do so as well, erasing all skill 1s with a bit of luck. That, or you throw in a defense skill when you've got 2 skill 1s loaded into the dashboard to rapid refill. This card just makes things far more disgusting anyhow. Regardless, general goal is to pump butterflies, reload, pump more butterflies. Make sure you have enough bullets loaded in to get the full skill-free dump, so if possible, have the maximum bullets or reload before making use of it. This means a turn before using S3, use an S2 with a 4A resin to reload, or use a defense skill to force reload. Ensure a gloom resin of 3 to get that haste on reload, then the following turn, dump the skill 3 for maximum damage and butterfly application. Past that, play the discard game to increase his consistency, and fuck around and find out. Honestly, they kinda just made him more fun than he already was. Now, if for some reason we want to cash out that corrosion, it's a fully unbreakable free coiner with a decent bit of attack weight, up to 5 with enough resonance. It gains clash power for sinking and butterfly on main target, gains attack weight based on resonance, and unfortunately loses base power from cracked coins, so we have to win clashes or go unopposed with this in comparison. The first coin deals free living, the second coin deals free departed alongside gloom fragility and gloom resist down for this turn and the next. The final coin deals sinking, tremor, burst tremor, deals gloom damage equal to butterfly and gloom damage equal to sinking on target. It's an extra 129-ish damage on that final coin. The lack of a damage echo from this is kinda sad, but this is also fine too. Note that rather than an unfocused volley, this one is a little more a delete entire group if possible button. Well, that and applying butterfly to an entire group rather consistently. That should about cover the upscale for this fella. If you need a team for the guy, he slots cleanly into a traditional sinking setup as the payoff. Consider an Echoes of the Mana applier, otherwise most of the usual suspects shown here should partner with him perfectly fine. Moving along, let's get to the meat of things, the Dawn Office Fixers featuring Faust, Gregor, and Sinclair. Yes, we'll be covering all of them since somehow that is oddly relevant, though Sinclair will be rather brief. Starting out, we've got the lesser of the bunch, Dawn Office Fixer Faust, based on Yuna from the same office. She utilizes a funny shallow case full of nasty appendages to fight. Since she is a modern ID, we should look at the passives first. First is Heatproof Coats. Upon entering the encounter for the first time, gain Fire Butterfly Coffin. This is a stack that increases on base skill hits and sets her on fire, giving her burn once beyond a certain number of stacks. Once past the second threshold, she'll also gain burn count. While this can only stack up by 20 per turn, this is her engine, and is stupid easy to make use of. Besides her engine, she can't be staggered or fall below 1 HP from burn damage, and also takes 50% less damage from burn effects. Once below 50% HP, she also reduces burn damage taken further to 75%. These clauses are important because burn is usually just fixed damage. Essentially though, the whole demerit of gaining burn ends up becoming entirely negligible. You will not feel the chip damage at all, it's just a fucking joke like Rian's mask. Second is straight into Sombay, which we will proceed to skip for now, and cover once we get back to Philip. It otherwise doesn't affect her personally. Fewer Falter Stigma Workshop is her third passive. When she has Battle Instincts, she gains 3 times the stack of it as Fire Butterfly Coffin at combat starts. This guarantees that her engine gets fueled once she has this unique buff. Battle Instinct offers minimum and maximum speed, increased burn application by base skills, more damage to her skill 3, skill 3-2, and second defense skill by stack count. Essentially, this is her stand-in for Shin, and there's very limited means of accessing it. Once it gets going to higher stacks though, we can reliably dump her strongest skills quite often. Beyond there, she gets to use an assist attack with her skill 1-2 when certain conditions are met. When an enemy is staggered after base attack skill end, or if either of her fellow Dawn Office Fixers use their skill freeze, Dawn Splitter, Crack of Dawn, Stigmatize, or Blazing Strike, this assist attack is allowed to proc once per identity. In addition, if Dawn Office Sinclair is on the field, anytime she uses a coin with her base skills, she'll deal wrath damage equal to burn on target, unfortunately capped to 10. 20 within a turn if 2 skills are used or have reused procs twice. Note that this counts as activating burn. All in all, oddly, not much for a Walpurgis ID, huh? That's mainly because the passive we skipped is weirdly huge and doesn't benefit her at all, which kinda feels wrong. Moving along to her base skills, we've got Flash of Sunup to start us out. It's a fairly standard 2-coiner that offers up to 3 final power off of dual status Tremor and Burn. Wonder why that is. She also gains 4 Fire Butterfly Coffin stacks, up to 3 Clash power based on Fire Butterfly Coffin stacks, and at 20 plus Fire Butterfly Coffin stacks, reuses the final coin. This is not a 2-coiner, it's a 3-coiner in disguise. That's why we're getting final power. Also, I'll be calling it Coffin stacks from here on, since saying the lot is a mouthful. The first coin is Burn and Burn counts. The second is Tremor. Since we'll be reusing the second coin, it'll be applying more Tremor in the end. Reminder that thanks to the passive, so long as Philclair is on the field, she will also trigger the burn as wrath damage on said coin reuse. Oh, and with Battle Instinct, the burn goes up as well. Her assist attack, seconded offensive, is a 2-coiner for real this time. On use, she gains extra effects based on coffin stacks, those being up to 60% damage and 3 final power. The first coin is Tremor Count, the second is Burn Count. Honestly, not bad by any stretch of the imagination for an assist. Butterfly Slash. This is based off of one of her Ruiner pages, and is a 2-coiner that gains 3 final power from dual status, Tremor, and Burn. 6 coffin stacks, and for every 10 coffin stacks, gains Clash power and another coin reuse. A double coin reuse. This is where I will tell you that 5 out of her 7 skills have a coin reuse for some reason or another. Anyhow, going beyond there, the first coin offers a scaling conditional. For every 10 coffin stacks, inflict burn and tremor counts on targets up to 2 of each. This is rather quite healthy to be getting, especially at higher stacks. From there, the second coin inflicts Tremor, and the reused version inflicts Burn and triggers Tremor Burst for us. A Tremor Burst on top of the Wrath damage activation is quite strong, especially if we get this converted into Scorch. Getting to use said coin a third time on top of that is just stupid funny. Unfortunately of note is the lack of damage percent conditionals thus far, meaning these first few skills are very status weighted. Skill 3 is Eject, one of her Ruiner pages. Before use, with 30 coffin stacks, use the enhanced version instead. Otherwise, we get 2 coin power for dual status here, 8 more coffin, and depending on coffin stacks, clash power, burn, and tremor counts, alongside the reuse of the final coin up to twice. Those coins being Tremor Potency on the first, Amplitude Conversion into Scorch on the second, and a Tremor Burst on the last. The reuse of the last coin also adds some extra burn potency too, alongside the Wrath Burn activation, all done twice. Pretty stacked all things considered, even for the vanilla version. But we could make use of the enhanced version to get some damage conditionals. Skill 3-2 is Eject High Noon. This one offers a damage conditional for burn on self and burn on target. This is unfortunately counted per target and rather low at 20%. Aside from that, every hit inflicts burn or tremor, and amplitude conversion into Scorch if not currently in Scorch. Beyond there, on use, gains clash power, coin power for dual status, inflicts free burn and free tremor counts. Weirdly, that's all listed in one go instead of one on use at a time. Funky. At attack end, we inflict 1 power down against all targets hits, gain 1 battle instinct, her shin buff basically, and we get the overheated coffin debuff. The debuff itself is just free burn before being removed at end of turn. Anyhow, for the coins themselves, we're looking at 2 vanilla unbreakables, simply because the above already specified. The third coin is a Tremor Burst, otherwise if she has Battle Instinct, deals extra damage based on burn up to 20%. Beyond there, it reuses unconditionally twice, and procs that Wrath activation. Oddly lackluster glow up compared to the normal skill 3 all in all, but that is more so because of the other bullshit she has to offer through her defense skills. Gaining Battle Instinct is probably the most important part here. First off is Stigmatize, a clashable counter that gains her coffin stacks. At 30 coffin stacks, she will instead use her second defense skill instead. Welcome back, Malphos, for a round 2. Okay, not 2 as insane a level, but still very whack. Anyhow, this is the one place that Overheated Coffin does indeed matter, as having that debuff denies her the alternative skill activation. As for the skill itself, we gain 2 coin power for burn on self, lose 5 burn on self, and on Clash Win, lose 3 burn on self as well. This allows us to temper her burn stacks when she eventually has to deal with having counts. For the coins themselves, it's burn and tremor potencies. As for dismemberment at high noon, it's an unfocused volley with a laundry list of effects. Rather, this is the better skill free that isn't labeled as such. Starting out, we have 2 different damage percent conditionals, those being Enmity and Burn, on targets for 50% and 20% accordingly. Beyond there, she inflicts the following with every coin, either Burn or Tremor alongside Amplitude Conversion into Scorch. On use, she gains 3 Clash Power, but also gains 4 additional Clash Power and 2 Coin Power for dual status on main target. Beyond there is 3 Burn counts and 3 Tremor counts to all targets. On attack end, she consumes up to 30 Burn on self for a HP heal equivalent to 20 plus Burn consumed percent up to 50%. She then consumes all of her coffin stacks and gains 3 Battle Instinct, essentially giving her an extra, stronger way of getting her not Shin buff. Said buff allowing her to turbo her engine back quite fast. For the coins themselves, it's 2 Unbreakables followed by a third that offers a Tremor Burst. With Battle Instinct, she does more damage based on burn potency, up to 20% with this third coin, and of course, reuses it twice to do the same thing again and again. All of that functionally gives her a way of cashing out her coffin stacks when they max out for a rather absurd payoff. Using this skill 2 turns after otherwise getting off the enhanced skill free means getting the benefits of Battle Instinct towards it too before resetting her engine. This means she can skill free in a way twice before needing to bother resetting her engine and restarting from the top. Not bad at all. In terms of egos, this Faust has a few she can make use of to a decent enough degree. In the he slot, we're looking at Ardor Blossom Star Faust. Due to her burn damage reduction and most of her heatproof coat's passive, the self-burn doesn't hurt all too much. So instead, we can abuse this for Embers and a massively increased burn potency stim. Embers also lets us get additional burn activations to boot, and with her ability to set herself on fire as it is, means that she will be able to trigger the nicer bonus effects of this ego rather easily. As for the love slots, it's just everlasting. The Awakening is still an insane payoff, and with this Faust having access to a decent few bursts, means she'll be able to get some haste out of it too. With her rampant access to Tremor Scorch application, we can abuse that alongside Everlasting for a massive damage cash out as a central game plan. With her Battle Instinct offering increased minimum and maximum speed, this should pay off semi-consistently. Else we can do some dodgy stuff with some support passives to bring her up to scruff. With Faust sorted, we can look at Dawn Office Rep Gregor, Salvador, but arguably more in his prime than one would initially expect. Once again, as a modern ID, we can go ahead and look at his passives first. Here we've got the Fixer at the crack of dawn. When he first enters the encounter, he gets Light of Daybreak. Compared to Faust's coffin stacks, these actually offer a bunch of benefits, notably inflicting more burn potency and counts on enemies with base skills. Unfortunately, this is also an engine that gains himself burn as well at turn start, beginning with burn potency, eventually getting counts. Though with the heat proofing in the next part, this is stupid negligible like Rian's Wound Mask. As per Faust's heatproofing, Gregor here is the same in being unable to be staggered by burn or fall below 1 HP with it. He also takes 50% less burn damage and 75% less once he's below 50% HP to boot. Dawn Office is his next passive, all of which revolves around Sinclair except for one part. If there are 2 or more allied Dawn Office identities on the field including himself, all of them get a unique buff called Dawn Office, equal to the amount of Dawn Office identities on field. This is up to 3 offense level, as well as 5 SP heal at 3 stacks. When all other Dawn Office IDs are dead, this buff expires. Skipping along though. Next passive is called Morgan Fewer Stigma Workshop. When this unit has Dawn Herald, gain Light of Daybreak on hits using base skills. This lets him rev up his engine faster so long as he manages to maintain the unique buff Dawn Herald. This buff offers 10% damage to burn skills, with a 15% boost for Wrath burn skills alongside 1 Clash power for burn skills, changing to 1 base power for Dawn Office fixers. At the end of turn, stacks reduced by 1 accordingly, giving it a limited uptime of up to 3 turns. Aside from that, this passive allows him to assist attack with his skill 1 against enemies staggered after a base skill end, as well as after any of Uniforce skill freeze and second defense skill, or Sinclair's Stigmatize and Blazing Strikes. Once per ID, allowing him to do this twice even. Last, this passive allows him to activate burn as wrath damage equal to burn on a targeted enemy on hit, with extra coins added to his base skills up to 10/20 per turn. Similar to Force, but different in functionality. Philclair must be on the field to take advantage of this. So here we are again with Flash of Sunup. This is a 2-coiner that gains free final power from dual status of Burn and Tremor. At 20 or more Light of Daybreak, it of course adds an extra coin in the form of another coin 2 as an unbreakable coin. Compared to Force reuse, this means this can be used while clashing. Anyhow, the first coin is Burn Potency and Tremor Count. The second coin is Burn. The extra third coin is Fuss, also Burn. Reminder that this is what gets used for an assist attack on both other office members' skill freeze and when an enemy is staggered. Next is Sunset Blade. This is a free coiner that gains 4 final power for dual status, and of course gains an extra coin free as an unbreakable coin with 20 Light of Daybreak stacks. Now specifically, that extra coin also triggers a Tremor Burst, which can be quite nasty. The coins themselves are quite straightforward. First is Burn, second is Burn and Tremor, third is Burn Count and Tremor Count, fourth is Unbreakable and offers Burn Count, Tremor Count, and a Tremor Burst. Now, thus far, it should be noted that once again, we have next to nothing in the way of damage conditionals. The skill freeze will change that, but only slightly. Also reminder that every skill that gains an extra coin activates Burn as wrath damage on that extra coin. And well, that coin is unbreakable, so is pretty much guaranteed through, short of getting staggered of course. Skill 3 is Dawn Splitter. This is a 4-coiner with a long list of effects, both offensive and defensive in nature. Starting out, we gain Burn on Self, plus Burn on target's % damage, up to 30%, and at combat start, apply 2 protection to 2 other allies, notably prioritizing those without protection or otherwise Dawn Office members. Before use with 30 Light of Daybreak, we instead activate Crack of Dawn, but we'll cover that after. On use, we get coin power for dual status, and with 20 Light of Daybreak, we get 1 final power, everything as unbreakables, and on final coin hit, activation of Burn on targets before reducing burn counts. At attack end, we finally get 1 Dawn Herald applied to all allies the following turn. With 20 Light of Daybreak, we apply 1 more of it, allowing the buff to last longer. As for the coins themselves, we're looking at Burn on the first, Tremor on the second, Count for both on the third, and an Amplitude conversion into Scorch on the last, followed by a Tremor Burst. Worth mentioning is the lack of an extra coin getting added here, but that is fine since with enough Light of Daybreak we just get a full burn activation anyway, instead of the small Wrath one. Now we have Salvador's signature move, Crack of Dawn. His skill 3-2. This is an unbreakable 4-coiner that deals more damage for every excess attack weight beyond the number of actual targets. This being 75% with 3 attack weights. It applies 2 protection to 2 allies the following turn, with the same priorities as the regular skill. Now it has 2 coin power conditionals. At 15 self-burn, gain 1 coin power. At 6 burn and tremor on the main targets, get 1 more coin power up to 2 to boot. At attack end, we get to spread around Dawn Herald on all allies, 3 of it this time, as well as consume 15 self-burn for up to a 30% heal and consume all of Light of Daybreak on self to reset our engine. The coins themselves are pretty straightforward but noticeably different in placement to the other skill 3. First is the dual status count, second is Tremor, third is Burn, and the last is Scorch, Tremor Burst, and that Burn activation. While arguably not as insane as Force 5 coiners, the sheer amount of power and attack weight does wonders to its actual damage. The buffs provided in post also go a long way. As for his defense skills, we're looking at Guardian, a clashable counter that offers an assist defense. Now compared to Malforce that needs that assist defense to go off in order to get that heavy as heck counter, we can just activate Crack of Dawn right away, with 30 Light of Daybreak. Don't need to pussyfoot around with getting an ally hit, we just cheat the skill 3-2 out as required. Now Guardian is a lot simpler than that. It offers 5 Light of Daybreak stacks, final power for dual status, and reduces the fella's burn count and potency, notably on Clash Win, then skill end. The first coin is dual status, the second coin is burn count. As for the assist defense exclusive skill, that would be Heat Haze. This offers 5 Light of Daybreak stacks, 2 protection, and 2 coin power from dual status. With 20 Light of Daybreak, or if we manage to use Crack of Dawn this turn too, all coins in this skill become unbreakable. Otherwise, it's just a double slap of Burn and Tremor. Not too much to write home about. These defense skills are our best friends in getting Light of Daybreak early on, as we cannot really generate it that easily otherwise, compared to Faust, who just gets her coffin stacks for fucking around and finding out. All in all, we got a reasonably durable Gregor that can stick out his neck for others and buff them up accordingly, at least so long as they fit the Wrath and Burn game plan. In terms of egos, we've only got the one worth mentioning, and that's Unbrilliant Glory. If you don't have it, bit of a shame, but otherwise it offers Man in the Scabbard for defensive-oriented boosts and a reasonable amount of damage when we activate it a second time. Finally, let's talk about that Philclair upscale, because there's a lot. Like, a lot to talk about in this regard. It's almost stupid even. You see all those things that are common to the Nurse Fathers, a shin buff, a stagger cheat, heck, a stagger bar removal. Yeah, we've got all of that and more. Let's hop back to Unit Faust real quick for the passive Sionbei. Just by existing on the field, Faust offers High Noon as long as both of them are on the field. This is pretty much a shin buff for free. Sinclair gains 2 minimum speed and 2 increased base power alongside damage conditionals of 45% divided by coin count just for existing. Honestly, already quite filthy. His skill 2, Sunset Blade, now triggers burn on the final coin as long as target has 15 or more burn. Reminder that Sunset Blade can be an AoE and is usually quite burn count healthy, so this just lets him rack up damage in groups even. Beyond there, he gets a whole bunch of bonuses to Blazing Strike, his skill 3. These are dealing 100% more damage, converting the 1 coin to an unbreakable, so in the event that it somehow loses a clash, it'll still go off, on-hit burn activation, and Scorchfield consumption with enough volatile passion. What in the fuck is a Scorchfield? It's the fucking Blood Feast of Burn. But wait, when does it even start collecting? Well, you see, that's part of the other guy's kit. That's part of Salvador's kit to hand over later. Anyhow, Blazing Strike deals more damage based on Scorchfield consumed up to 100%. It's very dumb. Now, Sionbei has a second half to it. If Unit Faust dies, it converts into Loneliness at High Noon instead. Now, this lets him cheat death once while giving him a stagger cheat, in addition to all of the above effects. It also removes the need for Volatile Passion to consume Scorchfield. Beyond there, all the numbers bloody increase. Free base power and 90% damage divided by coins, 150% damage to Blazing Strike, and alleged 150% from Scorchfield as well. But it is currently written very dodgily as of time of writing. Now, as for Salvador's offerings, aside from the Dawn Offers buff, he then provides From Dawnbreak to Sunset. If Sinclair has 3 stagger thresholds, he removes the first one. In addition, when staggered, cheat stagger before replacing a base skill with a skill 3. This is rather absurd and allows him to loop his Blazing Strike twice under the right condition. His severely beefed up Blazing Strike with force bonuses. Aside from that, he heals 5 SP at turn start, and all of his SP loss effects cannot reduce his SP below 25. This line alone is bloody filthy since it just keeps him in ego state, with little to no need to adjust around his SP engines. Beyond there, when in volatile ego states, he gains shield at turn start, based on 15% of his maximum HP, and when hits while having shield, inflicts burn on the attacker. Reminder that Sinclair has a stupid high shield from his defensive skill, for some reason or another. He could just dump out potency in a weird way through here while tanking an ungodly amount of punishment. This also means unbreakables that hit him would be offering the burn application, letting him burn down everything faster. The last line here is just letting Scorchfield be a thing at all, meaning to get the maximum value out of Sinclair, all 3 Dawn Offers fixes must be fielded at some point. In comparison, on death, this changes to Blazing Sunsets, an arguably more horrifying buff to his capabilities in granting him all of the above with a permanent ego state and being locked to 45 SP without external factors to reduce it. At turn start, he enters Volatile Ego State, heals 50% HP, and heals his SP to the maximum once per encounter. This is bloody filthy stuff. Like, genuinely filthy. In addition to that, the ego state is basically permanent as he cannot be knocked out of it for having less than 0 SP at turn start. The shielding also increases to 20%. That's fucking filthy. He's more than a real unit now. He's just a completely broken one. That is, until you read the next part of Gregor's passive. Turn starts. If Dawn Offers fixes Sinclair has less than 50% HP, apply Escape Apparatus on that unit. This is a weird conditional retreat that forces him to retreat once below 10 HP. He also cannot drop below that amount this turn. Furthermore, he will recover from stagger before getting out of the encounter. In chain battles, he will offer his slots up and move to the rear of the deployments, if there's anyone else. Otherwise, may escape the encounter entirely if no one else remains. Essentially, he could just brick a fight or yeet himself clean out by accident. While definitely a flavorful touch, this may harm quite a few of his capabilities in extended fights if no one can come back in to back him up in post. Very funny and stupid, all things considered. Anyhow, for Philip, we're going to want to slap Harmony on him if given the chance, while offering him some additional SP healing where applicable. While he's getting some baseline here, more than baseline really, it doesn't hurt to offer a bit more. Now, to close out our happy burn season, I reckon we can put together a rather funny team of bozos utilizing the House of Spiders and Dawn Office in tow. This team is going to be far from beginner friendly, unless you manage to collect a lot of stuff from this season, and of course from this Walpurgis. It is a team with probably too many game plans that it'll start looking particularly funny after a while. First off, we've got our Dawn Office locked in full. They're not going anywhere. As for everyone else, we're bringing every possible member of the House of Spiders except for Otis, which may seem a little counterintuitive at first, but hear me out. There'll be some options and variations, mostly depending on how long a fight is to go. Starting out, we're bringing House of Spiders Ryoshu. She is staple in burn for all of the burn activations she keeps putting out. Rather, she puts out at least one per turn. More than that for any turn involving her skill freeze. She's here to play on a few things besides cashing in on the status, namely her friendly fire capabilities. Now previously, to get Philclair into ego states, the most reliable method was to get him above 40 SP with a mix of clashing and passives. But what if we could just kill two allies off back to back to instantly trigger his ego? Well, that's where Roshu comes in to kill all these nice House of Spiderlings off. While she gets to buff up and become a menace, Sinclair gets to enjoy a free ego activation. Aside from that, thanks to all the buffs Ryoshu will inevitably get from constant murder, we'll be profiting quite a bit in plenty of effects in return. Notably extra coins to her skill 3-2, boosted tankiness, even tremor bursts inevitably. Essentially, she is going to be most of our engine for some funny as hell capabilities. We should inevitably outline the core of said engine, the thumb. The duo exists to do multiple things, namely stim tremor for the inevitable tremor scorch plan. We only need just enough to get things rolling, which means enough for Capote to not immediately erase all of our efforts. To this end, we're looking to bring both the Nurse Father and Apprentice. The Apprentice is to be killed as one of the very first things we do. This will instantly put Rodya into Shin, making a lot of her tremor-based skills suddenly go positive. It also lets her put out some burn count too. Pretty funny stuff. Anyhow, Lucio Heathcliff's death serves more purpose than just turning Rodya into a tremor unit. He also serves to let Ryoshu do the same by letting her burst tremor. For this game plan, we'll want to consider two egos for Rodya, those being Into the Sunset and Indicant's Trial. Into the Sunset lets her boost up SP for cheap, whereas Indicant's Trial can help us with closing out stupid long fights with Wrath damage increases. Notably, since it is Wrath resist adjustments from Searing Birdcage, this means that all of the Dawn Office fixers and their fancy Wrath explosions get additional damage through this. As for the Index, we're taking the Apprentice and Nurse Father again. Both of them exist to get killed. Alternatively, one could consider Liu Yi Sang to help with SP management, especially on a burn team such as this one. The opportunity cost, however, will be Magic Bullet, so depending on the kind of finisher you're after, consider Liu Yi Sang as well. They would replace Magic Bullet in the lineup anyhow. As for Sora Don, she's just here to die and offer her nice poison sinking buff to Ryoshu. Don also has an SP-based passive that, while a bit difficult to trigger, can heal some SP in a pinch so long as we get some Gloom going. Alternatively, for faster playstyles, we would want to be slotting in Sync East Don and praying that Faust gets the haste. No egos are necessary here, though if you take Liu Yi Sang, place the Fell Bullet in the back pocket for some potential jank. Regarding the middle, we're looking at both the Apprentice specifically, potentially the Nurse Father depending on some choices. The Apprentice provides a slight buffer to allow us to keep Rodya from dying once we get String Severance up. Rather, it'll either be her or Don holding a buffer spot to let us get more Apprentice buffs without getting Rodya accidentally killed. This will require some rather dodgy sequencing to get right, but I'll outline how all of that works later. The alternative pick for Ishmael is Jong Office Ishmael to give us some odd means of sanity management. As for the Nurse Father, if we take Liu Yi Sang, we're taking Middle Otis as an extra Nurse Father to murder instead. The benefit isn't quite as good, but it's still a dead Nurse Father for string severance. The sacrifice is unfortunately magic bullets in this case. For Otis, taking magic bullets, Otis offers one of Burn's best finishes, in the case that we can't finish things out with a tremor-based plan. Essentially, we want to take magic bullets due to our heavier focus on Burn, and with the decent enough amount of pride sitting around in this composition, we can fire it off a few times even. That said, we have a few more sinners to get to. Hongers is going to be the Ring Nurse Father. Somatic Frisson inspiring melody is quite nice to get going, so why the heck not? If you don't value it though, or figure you'd rather not run as many Nurse Fathers for whatever reason, you can take Lu Hongers instead for some extra burn count generation. This will help stabilize things earlier in comparison to needing Roshu to do the whole song and dance. Anyhow, no egos are required here either. Next, we're shooting our last slots with Musou. Hornet Musou provides a rather ridiculous amount of burn count, offering us plenty for the others to eat up, since this is inevitably a stupid greedy composition in terms of burn. Spore provides burn counts out the ass each turn, and his skill 2 is no slouch in provisioning it either. While an argument can be made for the capo, we're desperately in need of burn counts, and Hornet just provides that in spades if others cannot keep it up. Musou's egos are quite simple. He needs Regret, Capote, and Crushbound Past. These are key to Tremor Scorch finishers, and otherwise very nasty to use. Now with everyone out of the way, we've got some maddening play patterns here due to the need to kill several fellas off. I'll be discussing a few of them since honestly, we've got so many stupid and flexible ways to make things work here. Not work to peak performance perhaps, but work to some stupid levels. For the longest game plan, we're going to want to slot as follows. On turn 1, we're going to want to evade with Roshu to kill Heathcliff on turn 1. This will place Roger into Shin Disgrace on turn 2 and allow her to put out plenty of burn and tremor count with her skills. To start some other engines, we're going to want Sinclair to clash and pray that he wins. Ideally, he wins with a skill 3 to get the biggest boost to SP. This is in case anything goes wrong with the killing of allies. Gregor is to use his defense skill this turn and the next in order to rapidly increase his Light of Daybreak stacks. If we get an assist defense off on both turns, he will be at 20 Light of Daybreak, allowing him to get all of his fancier coins off. On turn 2, we want to slot another evade to Roshu to kill the next ally in tow, while Gregor assist defends. In the meantime, everyone else should be contributing towards Everlasting and Capote. On turn 3, we want to evade once more to murder our allies. This should get Roshu activated pretty much immediately, as she slimes out more allies. If resources permits, you can slot Harmony on Sinclair here. He should already be in ego state anyway, but this just lets him get SP back more reliably. Build up to Gregor and force nukes if possible. If you can use an enhanced force skill 3 by some mad providence or gains, you can do so now. On turn 4, we're murdering one more set of the house and setting up for our oncoming tremor plans. Get as much value out of Gregor, Faust, and Sinclair here. You can drop their S3s and everyone else's, convert Tremor to Scorch if it isn't already, else blast through huge chunks of HP, paint the board red and set up. On turn 5, we're queuing Capote, Everlasting, and any other bursts we have access to. You can leave Everlasting to the turn after if you think the fight will last longer too. With any luck, you can also get Disposal off and any of the cheated skill frees from the Dawn Office members. We can of course go far shorter than that. Instead, we'll be running this setup. On turn 1, we kill Lucio as per usual, then slot defense on Gregor for his assist and Daybreak stacks. We can also slot the defensive on Faust for a one-time boost to her Coffin stacks. On turn 2, we're aiming to get as many engines online early as possible. As such, Gregor is on assist duty one more time. Since Musou and Otis are both on field, we're focused in on getting burn sorted, whether that be through Spore or other means. We'll want to build up towards Magic Bullet and Harmony this time around instead, so we should play around those resources as follows. Sinclair will have to organically clash to get his ego state this time instead of getting it by default through the death of his allies. On turn 3, we're plugging the gaps to those egos, otherwise using them to fire up plans. Magic Bullets give Otis a sharp increase in engine, so I would recommend prioritizing those. On turn 4, we dump everything. That is about as fast as the plan can go and result in some disgusting amounts of damage. If you don't have Faust and Gregor's skill freeze, you should have close to or enough stacks to instead use their defensive skills to cheat out the skill 3-2 instead. Now there is a middle of the road plan that involves killing off several Nurse Fathers instead, and more or less boils down to this. Just follow most of the above, but slot in an extra evade or two to commit murder. Anyhow, After playing around with these IDs with a few plans, they're bloody broken. While there's a few things to watch out for every now and then, and some tricks for generating stacks more effectively, the IDs largely play themselves with only a few variations on their gimmicks. My main disappointment is that they are far too durable, and thus make it difficult to get the enhanced versions of buffs for Sinclair. I was expecting them to burn down at least as fast as LCA Faust or Yo Heathcliff, but nope. They're far too good for that. It does also mean that most fell bullet plans kinda just don't work on them unless you keep them low leveled, but that really defeats the purpose of bringing them at all. Oh, and on the notes of Lone Fixer from Unifaust, it's 1/3 of its power from Ruiner. Expected, but it is what it is. Regardless, thanks for tuning in one more time or using me as second monitor content. If you enjoyed the video, throw it a like, otherwise subscribe to see more in the future. Currently, I owe everyone an extended and polished Philip video. A lore one, that is. You can support further like these fine folk, Artie, Derp, Ane, and Iwa through memberships and Patreon. Else, that is all you'll be hearing from me this week. That is, unless you happen to be in Sydney and attending SmashCon this weekend. I'll be hosting a panel in person at around 1 PM on the Sakura stage on level 4 of the con. If you swing by, I'll toss over my business card, I guess. That said, thanks once again for listening in or leaving me in the background. Appreciate it.